city engineer.
Can you hear this?
Can you hear me?
Can everybody hear him?
No, not very well.
No, it's not working. I think it's better.
Put it closer to you.
Or the other mic.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have to,
Why don't
sorry.
you take two mics?
No, big guy, come on. All right, is there anybody who needs, expenses that we had? All right, Rimbus Balls, city engineer. This project started in 2016 with petition for water for 5 homes originally. I wasn't the city engineer at the time, so some of this is going to be just my recollection, not my actual work that took place on the project. I've been here since 2008, so I have been involved with the project, but some of the work was done by my predecessor. I believe there was 5 homes that originally petitioned the board for water. 3 were in favor, I believe 2 were against, and the board voted in favor of extending the water. There was an estimate prepared by my predecessor, and that estimate came out in the vicinity of the $16,000, maybe $17,000 range per home as to what it would cost to install the water. And once that project got underway, more homes along Birdseye Road decided they also wanted water because this is the time of year, and that was a very bad year for wells. So my predecessor took I don't know if it was a roll call. He didn't send out letters specifically asking for a yes or no, but I believe that there was 7 or 8 yeses and maybe 2 no's on what ended up being known as phase 2. That also ended up in the vicinity of around $16,000 to $17,000 as an estimate. Once we got well underway on phase 1, it became apparent that we were hitting a lot of rock. And rock is one of those items that you can't estimate accurately unless you're intimately familiar with what is actually underground. We can estimate pipe quantity, things that we're putting in. We're pretty good with that, but rock is one of the many unknowns. And unfortunately, the estimate was for 20 cubic yards of rock in the first phase and 45 cubic yards of rock on the second phase. In total, we ended up with almost 451 cubic yards of rock. The price for the rock was $225 per cubic yards to remove it. So as you can see by the sheet that I handed out, we estimated around $14,600 for the rock, and it ended up costing $101,457 for an overage of $86,832. That's what it is. The quantities were measured daily, so those weren't estimates. Those were actual quantities. The second large overrun, if you want to call it, were the police requirements on the job site. Now, let me be clear that the only person or only people that determine the how much manpower is required on a job site is the police department. We have no say in whether there's 1 police officer, whether there's a flag person, 2. They required, in most cases, 2 police officers every day, even when the road was shut down totally. So our estimate was $6,000, which we thought was sufficient, obviously, because we did not feel the need for 2 police officers constantly on the job site when the road was totally blocked. We ended up paying $26,518 for another overage of over $20,000. Now, the last big item on the billing was Aquarion itself. They charge us for inspection, engineering, sampling, and one other item. And on the 2 previous jobs, they would stop by periodically, maybe once a day, spend an hour there, take some figures, and we had spent maybe $3,000 to $4,000 on their costs per project. So we figured $11,000 for a job of this length was sufficient. Well, they went out and hired an engineering firm, charged us $600 a day. The inspectors sit there and watch everything being done, even when it really wasn't necessary. And, with everything all said and done, that bill came out to over $44,000. However, Mayor Lorady and I, sat down with one of the people from Graham. We did negotiate, price reduction on some of the days that, little to no work was being done, and I believe the board had appropriated funds earlier this year, to the tune of roughly $14,000 to finish paying out that bill. That bill ended up being, $38,870, which was, again, $27,000 more than we estimated, which honestly we felt was more than sufficient, so. At that point in time, we ended up with $135,000 that we didn't expect to have to charge the homeowners for, the water main. You know, if everything went as we expected, the bills would have been in the $16,000 range, but with roughly $9,000 extra per home. When you divide out the total of $135,000, we end up with a total of $25,000, I can't remember the total, $580 maybe per home. In a nutshell, that's where we're at.
Okay, let me ask you a few questions. The ordinance says, at said public hearing, which we're holding tonight, the Board of Aldermen shall cause to be placed on the record the basis of the cost calculation that it has made and the methods cited in determining the fair share of each property owner. The two documents, would you point out what they are? The cost calculation, is that the item titled Bird's Eye Road Water Main Extension Cost Overrun?
No, that would have been the earlier document in the June meeting, I believe.
Which documents are they? And I want to be sure that we're placing them on the record.
And you caught me off guard a little bit with that question, but like I said, those were the, letters that were submitted in June.
All right, so these documents, the cost overrun.
Yeah, the cost overrun was just to try to explain to
You
the
handed me
residents.
the cost overrun, extra copies of it. You want me to pass them out to everybody?
I handed it to you.
Yeah, I already have it. But I want, okay, I want to identify the document that shows the fair share that each property owner has to pay.
That would have been the May 26, 2021 document, called, Water Main Extension for Bird's Eye Road Final Project Cost Summary. And then there would have been the proposed water main assessments for Bird's Eye Road. Attached with it, those were from the, Teresa, help me out here, was it the June 7th meeting, June 10th meeting? When they scheduled this public hearing?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes, June 10th.
Everybody have that document? Was that document provided to the people who are being served by this project?
Yes, everybody was sent a certified and a regular mail, mailing. I believe we received one back undeliverable.
Okay, that document then would show the fair share of each property owner is being assessed.
That's correct.
Okay, that meets that requirement. We'll get back to further, as we get further on with the public hearing. I may refer back to the ordinance again for other purposes, but I think that summarizes where we are, and we do have the appropriate documents on the record, so, and they've been given out to everybody. Okay, thank you. At this point, we'll take comment on the calculations. Now, I just want to state before we start making comments, the project has been started and completed. We're not talking about that. We're talking only about the assessments, the method of calculation, there's something wrong with the numbers. That's what we need to know. So, you would certainly, raise your hand and come up to the podium and speak into the microphone so that we can record what you say for the records. Who would like to be first? Yes, sir. Come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Steve Novak, 30 Birdside Road. First off, I never received that letter, but, that's neither here nor there. The water is a good thing for the people that need it. I'm not gonna argue that point. But it does not increase the value of my house by 25 grand. And it seems to me, if I go to a store to buy something, or if I go to a hot dog stand to buy something, I don't pay to put the building up, food and all that, and then go in there and have to pay for the hamburger. And here we are, Aquarian, who didn't really want to put that pipe in, ends up with a free pipe. I find that a little strange. I came from Stratford. Bridgeport Hydraulic back then, they put water in the road, Bridgeport Hydraulic paid for that pipe. People paid to hook up, but they didn't have to pay for the pipe in the road. I find that, and granted, it increases the value of my home, but not by 25 grand. What have you got to say about that? I mean, they get a free pipe. They're in business to make money, and we help them to make money. My tax dollars have paid for that.
You want just a slight response to what you said, just to help you understand some of this. Section 7-137C of the Connecticut State Statutes requires this process to take place in all towns throughout Connecticut. So I doubt that Aquarian or Bridgeport Hydraulic or anybody else could operate in one town differently than another. However, that said, we have on numerous occasions spoken with our state representatives and objected to this process and to the statute. And we have said to them that we would like them to initiate action at the state level to do the same thing for this utility as is done for all other utilities that are regulated by DPUCA. Now, our people, our state representatives, went and tried to put legislation in the books, but got nowhere. The majority party would not accept and would not take it under consideration. So we're right back in the same position we are with this hearing, we are with the others. The water company is the only utility that we know of that our people have to pay the full cost of extending the water line, and they own it once it's done. And they make money off it. We think that's wrong. And we've spoken up more than once, but we're getting no place. And you know, every time this comes up, we've got 15, 20 people, 20 families that are affected. And despite the fact that we bring it up every time we have to do a water extension, we get nowhere. But the fact of the matter is that we have to pursue these things because some people in some areas are really hurting for water. Their pipes are rusting, there's too much iron, you know, in their water and other reasons. And so when people come to us and ask us on the local level to do this, the best we can do is to tell them what the facts are, give them an estimate, the best estimate we can, and to go forward with it. If there's a significant interest in doing it.
My problem is they own the pipe now. If I'm paying 25 grand for the pipe to go through my
we've been saying this for the last 20 years. Whenever we come up with a water main extension, we pass it on to our state representatives, but we get nowhere up in Hartford, and that's what's on the books.
So is that the end of it at this point? Our state representatives wash their hands?
No, they're trying. Our people have tried, and they've put forward.
Mr. President, I was just gonna ask, can constituents contact the state and?
Well, it's gonna do no good to contact them now, because it's after.
Too late, right, but.
It's after the fact. But I'm just,
Why do they own the pipe?
why? Because the state statutes allows it. It's not our doing.
I'm in the wrong business.
I
really am.
Yeah.
45 years ago, I had a bad well. I called up the water company. They said, if I want, I'd have to pay for the pipe. I said, fine. Back then, it was around 12 grand. Okay. I said, if I put the pipe in, do I own the pipe? They said, no. I said, well, fine. If somebody wants to hook up to the pipe, are they hooking up at my cost? They said, yes. I said, then I don't want the pipe. I'm not gonna pay for everybody else. I don't understand how all this went through. It's just a giveaway.
Well,
I'm sorry, I don't.
well, it's perfectly
I'm in the
understandable.
wrong business.
It's perfectly understandable. You know, how you don't accept it. We don't accept it either.
So what are we gonna do about it? Nothing.
Well, no, we did something about it. We did something every time.
But that's the end of it. We're not gonna do any more.
Well, like I said to you, when you got 15 people to come in for water, and you got 15 people, nobody else in this town cares. Nobody else is gonna get behind it. Nobody else is gonna make us think about it. We do, and we tell our state reps, and they do, and they don't get anywhere up there in Hartford. Now,
So we say you win, that's it. We give up.
well, nobody's given up, because I talked to the state representatives in this case as well. You know, we bring it up to them every time. Something's gotta change up there. Section 7-137C has gotta change. And if that doesn't change,
I understand that.
if it doesn't change, we're subject to the same statutes to go by for each time somebody comes in looking for water. We don't have the authority to change it. At the local level, we don't.
You know, whenever you're gonna give something like that away, keep me in mind, okay? Really.
Is there anyone else that wishes to be heard? Yes, ma'am. State your name and address, please.
Good evening, my name is Dina Rivera, I'm at 44 Burnside Road. We've lived in the town for 28 years. I just want to let you know that we have perfectly clean running water. We don't use a filter, it's excellent water. I just want to make a comment that you were just speaking about 15 people. I had called the town on June 18th, and I spoke with Remus Valius. Okay, oh. And we had a conversation, and he said that a vote was taken for the first 5 houses. 5 ballots were returned to the town that approved this. I'm one of those 15 houses. I didn't get a ballot, and I didn't approve anything. He asked me if I'd like, I said, well, how do I get copies of this? He asked me if I'd like to come down to town hall and purchase 1,000 pages. He'd be happy to help. That was his comments to me. So from there, I've been just digging in, talking to people in the water business and, you know, trying to get some more, you know, information about what's going on. I'm 56 years old. I've lived on a well my entire life, and I don't know what it's like to have city water, nor do I even consider having it. From what I understand, that the pipe was put in, not even on my property. The city owns the property where that top of the metal I don't even know, cover.
The meter,
cover
the meter pit.
is. That's not even my property. So I'm not understanding why me and my husband, we're close to our retirement ages, and we're coming up with supposed to come up with $28,000. You know, it just doesn't make sense to us. Not even 10 years will help us out. Maybe 20, 25, if we do get hit with a bill. But what I'm saying is, this has been just under the carpet until we got a certified letter. So we had no knowledge of this, other than these men coming in, you know, digging our road up. But even they did not give us information like, oh, this is gonna be part of your, you know, your billing in the future, or things like this. That was never even mentioned. They just said a couple people at the beginning of your road were having water problems. So how does a few people dictate what goes on for the next 15 houses? Like, why weren't we brought into a public hearing back when? I mean, I know, you know, we can't reinvent the wheel right now, but, you know, why was this allowed to happen, and then all of a sudden now I'm gonna be getting, you know, extra bills for the next 10 years?
John, can I address it? That was the part that I had referenced that, my predecessor, when he was here, that I could not find any certified letters that had gone out. There was a list of names that were submitted as wanting water, and it was, like I said, maybe 7 or 8 names on that list. I don't know what, he did to come up with, you know, the justification to do the water, but I do believe that the Board of Aldermen did approve it because they would have had to.
There was no documentation. I'm
Well,
sorry to interrupt.
right, that's what I was saying.
There's
Not every,
no other information other than this letter dated on June 18th.
right,
There's no ballots, there is nothing.
That's what I was saying. I could not find where he sent out phase 2, votes to get, basically justification. But on the list, there was, like I said, I'm going by memory now, it might have been 7 or 8 names out of the people that, and it might have been one of the neighbors that walked around and got those names, but they may have gone to only the homes they know needed water. I wasn't part of that process. I honestly can't answer that.
I don't know of anybody coming knocking on my door. There was no notes left for me. There was nothing in my mailbox. There was no type of discussion, nothing.
Well, the scope of the project was changed to, and it was all done, it's all part of the record.
Right.
You got copies of that.
Well, I know the alderman,
No, we did not.
Yeah.
when he's talking to me.
Yeah, well, it's all part of the,
Yeah, I know the alderman did their part. But what I'm saying is I could not find copies of certified letters for phase 2.
If I were to decide maybe 20 years down the road, if I would like to put the pipe into my house, you know, a hookup, same sort of thing, that's gonna be an additional $21,000 just to hook into my yard. Then I would have to pay another, who knows what it would cost in 10 years to have that knob turned on. So there's additional fees involved with just, you know, having the pipe even moved forward. But like I said, I have well water, I love my well water, and I'm sorry for the people that are experiencing difficulty with their water, but, you know.
if you like your well water, you don't, and your water main goes in, and there's a connection comes to the front of your house with a box to tie in whatever you want to, but you don't have to tie in.
Right, but I shouldn't have to pay the $28,000 then.
Oh, yes, you do, because that state statute says that your property benefits from it, and you will be assessed.
Right, but again,
You're being assessed for the water main and the lateral over to the front of your house. You're not being assessed for connection to your house.
right, but again, that water main is not even on my property.
That's right. Not on my part.
Yeah, I'm sorry, whether it is or not, we're all in the same boat. I got the same problem. When they came in front of my house, I didn't want the water, but I had to pay for it because it went by my house, and that's what the statute says. I can't change the statutes.
and they give it away.
Why do you make money?
Something wrong.
Is there anything further?
There's something wrong with the statute.
No, thank you for your time.
Okay, anybody else like to speak? Oh, yes, ma'am, I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
Hi, my name is
You
Wanda.
can pull that down.
Number?
You can, that's it.
Is that it? Okay.
Hey,
My name is Wanda Sheki. I live at 12 Burnside Road. I am actually very happy that I have the water. I have two girls with long hair, and they took showers forever, and many times there was not enough water. But I did get the shock of my life when I received your papers. And that's a big increase. That's a lot of money. I am almost 70 years old. I am on Social Security. It does make a big difference in my budget. I'm planning to sell the house. What do I do now? I pay for this, future owner.
It's assignable,
I know,
right?
I know. But this is really 5 years later. I wish I knew this maybe 2 years into the project that they possibly could increase. Nothing. Right now I received the letters and, oh my gosh. So I think something somewhere went wrong. Somebody's estimate, I don't know. But this is shocking, and this is not something that I expected. Maybe a little bit, maybe a small percentage, but that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Well, if I may comment, I think we were all shocked to see the cost versus the estimate. And so you're not alone in that respect. But the cost, the project went out to bid, followed the bidding procedure which is required.
Yes.
And we, as far as the interest rate is concerned, we got the lowest interest rate we could get, 1.91%. So that we can't, by statute, we can't go any lower than that.
No, that's fishy.
We just can't, or we would, you know, whatever we could do to help. But if we could get away with not charging interest, we'd do that too. But we're subject to the state statute, and we can't assign an interest rate lower than what we have borrowed for in the past couple of projects that we went on.
Right.
So, but 1.9 is you know, is a good number in terms of the interest rate, and it's probably timely. I wish we could do something about the rest of it, but I don't think there is anything that we can do. Anyone else wish to speak? Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name is Dave Fuller, 26 Birdside Road. One thing's a comment, and the other thing's a question. The comment is that, and you can't do anything about this, and thank you, by the way, for knocking down Aquarium as best you did, because my attitude is they shouldn't have charged us a cent, because they get a free pipe on us, and then they have a gall to charge $38,000 or $40,000 to make it so they can use it after we pay to put it in. I'm just, as I said. The question is, on the schedule, of course, we see that like a mortgage, the interest goes down as we go along. If we paid the whole thing, or maybe one or two installments instead of the whole 10 and pay it off, then we can save money on the interest, right?
Yes.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay,
That is correct.
okay, thank you. That was my only question.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to comment on this? No further comments? there's no further comments, we'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion? Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Be complete.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing on water main assessments for Birdseye Road. Is there a second? Second. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Is there anyone on the phone?
Bernie's on.
Bernie, what's your vote? Yes, you in favor or opposed?
Close the public hearing. In favor.
Okay. Clerk got that vote? Clerk got that vote?
Everyone wants to close
Unanimously.
Yeah.
Declare unanimously close the public hearing. Okay, public hearing is closed, so we will now, the Board of Aldermen is now going to hold a special finance committee meeting, so there's going to be no further business on the public hearing. And I thank you very much for coming. I'm sorry that we couldn't do more for you. Maybe you don't believe it, but, each of us are in the same boat, subject to the same situation.
50 years I've lived there, 51 years. Never has the town done something like this to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, good night, everybody.
Hey, Bernie? Bernie,
Yes,
can you just stay on the phone for a second?
I can, but then I have to leave, okay?
Yeah, I know,
Okay,
I understand. Hold on one second, we've gotta have Jose call in, because if we don't have someone on the line, the whole...
No problem, no problem.
Join
Just
the
let me know
meeting.
when I can go.
All right, so just let us get on.
Yeah, go ahead, do what you gotta do.
Okay.
Joanne, you're in charge.
Just, John, give us a few minutes. Give us a minute. Is it working? Yeah. Can you call in on your phone too? I think we need two people. Okay. Yeah.
So we gotta go.
Or else the whole thing doesn't work. So weird. Yeah, and then just say Jose.
The members of the board that you can, Al can, Ray O'Leary.
That's what I wanted.
Okay, are you ready?
No,
Press the red button in.
hold on. Is it working? Yeah. You're in?
Okay, Bernie.
Join the meeting.
You can hang up.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, bye, thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you, bye-bye.
Just the red?
Just the red dot.
Okay.
I want
It doesn't record, at least it's recording online, I just need to. Hit it now, and then they can start the meeting, I'm gonna leave it. Hey, you gotta be on, and now it's recording. I wonder if I missed the first one. Wait, hold on. Jose, hold on, it's not working. Where's the thing?
This meeting passcode is invalid. Please re-enter the meeting passcode followed by pound. After the tone, please record your name. When you have finished recording, press pound. You are in the meeting now. Join the meeting. In the meeting. This meeting is being recorded.
That's the threat.
Teresa. Join the meeting. You're all set. Thank you.
We'll call the meeting to order, the special Board of Aldermen meeting, Finance Committee, of Tuesday, July 27th, 2021. And we've already done the Pledge of Allegiance. We will do a roll call. John Englis,
Present.
Joanna Carloni, present. Anthony Simonetti,
Present.
Eric McPherson,
Present.
Yep.
Crystal Macy, present, non-member. And we'd like to invite the Board of Ed members to come up to the front.
Al Cameron, Kathy, and regularly, let the record show, regularly 60 members. Al Cameron, the board head. Kathy Young, chairman, board head. Supervisor, board head. And then one last, city finance, Paul Howard.
Take your share, whatever you do. Here.
Mr. Kelly. Let the record show. We're going to have one more discussion.
I see that.
Item 1, minutes for approval. A motion was required to approve the minutes for the special finance committee meeting on March 1st, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was received by Simonetti and seconded by Englis. Discussion?
Pages of the rules of detail regarding the last city water. And there's a lot of value and, you got to, I have so we'll do what you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries.
No. The next is, what is it? Share with you, and share everything about the good work between the city and the board of education. It is all overdue, you recognize, and I want to tell you how much I the new all you as the president of the board, and invited me to come to his office to share some details about recent finance decisions that the board of education has made. And I was just absolutely absolutely, I'd love to come. But when I got there, I was floored because Ken had everything, not only a story to tell and information to share, but things that we haven't seen in years on the city side. And those documents I have here, and I'm going to share them with you tonight. And we're doing this finance committee meeting so that all our aldermen and all you members of the Board of Education can take due note of the fact that things are going, our relationship is going in the right direction. And as we get into some of this valuable information that Ken has provided, and incidentally, when I was talking to Ken, I said to him, I'm not going to remember all this. I said, I need help. And I said, I understand Al Cameron is back on the job. And he said, yeah, he's here temporarily. I said, would you mind providing an element? See, Rick Belden came to every one of our finance committee meetings. He was not invited, he was not asked to come, he didn't have to come, but he came to bolster the relationship between us and provide us with information. And he provided us, during his tenure, always with the minutes of finance committee meetings. And you heard me say this in our joint meetings, Board of Aldermen, that I have followed what's going on, and the board went through your minutes, very good minutes. So, Ken was good enough to call Al down and say to Al, can you make the meeting, go there and help John? And Al said, I'd be glad to. But it's like old times, because as you all know, Al has served in the capacity of finance director of the Board of Ed, and he was always an asset to the city and an asset to those of us serving on the city side. It's terrific. So I was glad that he was able to do it. I didn't invite members of the Board of Education because I didn't feel, I explained, but I didn't invite for the simple reason that I didn't want to embarrass them. I didn't want them to sit here and me shower praise on. You know what I mean?
We'll take the praise.
Definitely not used to it.
But seriously, good things are happening, and that's what we're going to talk about. Good things that are happening. And so far, we've passed out all these documents that the superintendent provided to all the aldermen, and I believe you probably already have them. But the documents that we'll start talking about the 2020, 2021 Board of Ed year-end results. You might recall that you had $1.2 million unspent, and that was projected, but you spent that money down, and that was done in collaboration with the mayor, and some good things were done with it and using it. I believe the Bridgeport lawsuit, the charter school lawsuit, was resolved and using that money. And I further understand that the mayor and superintendent of schools did not do what every other town that was impacted by this did. The other towns just ponied up, sent a check, and they questioned it. They questioned why, and they questioned the amount. And I understand that they ended up saving the city and the Board of Education and the city $50,000. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So it was a wise collaboration to discuss it, to challenge this, and that was just amazing. So we were very pleased to hear that. I imagine you were too.
We're delighted.
Yes, that's right. So I don't know if you Right, Al, if you could elaborate any more on how that 1.2 million was spent, I believe that's how.
Would you like to elaborate?
No,
Okay, all right.
I'll chime in if there's anything to add.
Okay. How the money was spent was actually, two of the major things were part of the minutes. The details of 2 pages that totaled up to $465,000, which was, moving ahead purchases that were planned for 2022
Include new programs.
to be completed in 2021. And when you look at that list, I think we are within hundreds of dollars of the $465,644. So that money was, those pre-purchases were approved by you guys, they were approved by the Board of Ed, and then they all happened by June 30th.
And I want to tell you, that when I questioned the mayor, he says, and I approve it. The mayor is on board with everything done.
Okay.
He had communications going with Jimmy Orsetti, who I believe is the chairman of the finance committee.
Yes.
Yeah, and so he has been in constant touch, which paid off.
The other thing that happened was $400,000 went to the city of Bridgeport lawsuit. So basically, that leaves about $250,000. The final number, and the numbers are not final. That's the first thing I need to let you know. And Paul and Lynn realize that. We haven't finished closing 2021. So there's the numbers are still a little bit about, but essentially, you're going to get back about $250,000. So those are the 3 major things that happened with the what turned out to be $1.1 million.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. It's going to get better. It's going to get better.
And that money that we are giving back is designated to go into a health fund with the city, correct?
Health fund for the city?
No, it's a combined health fund?
But that, okay, the one that we started a few years, I probably when Al was here.
Yes.
We had 500,000, remember that, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, well, that's good news, that's good news.
Put it at the Wells Fargo.
You see, I mean, where's all the controversy? Well, this is positive. This is positive. Wake up, Shelton, and stop listening to that garbage that's being put on your, what they call those things, Facebooks?
Yes.
If people pay attention, they can learn a lot tonight. So, okay, Al, that's great. Now let's see what's the next issue. The next issue, okay, the 2021-22 budget development. Now, I'm going to take a shot at this, and you guys jump in anywhere I mess up. But essentially, what the superintendent told me was that in January, when you develop your budget, of course, you have to remember that the Board of Education has to work on that budget in November, December, and, this is many months in advance, so everything is kind of vague. But in January, you got to make a decision because you have to submit your expectations to the city, to the mayor, to the finance director, and who then puts them together and gives them to the mayor. Well, you came up with a number, you thought you needed $2.1 million in money. And the way the superintendent put it to me, and I could be paraphrasing it, but he said between January and April, when the final decision is made to budget for Alderman, some things changed. Both you needed more in some areas, and you needed less in other areas. So he's got a list here. He gave me a list. This list, which I think everybody has, this list shows that during that 3-month period, you developed a need for $111,171 more proposed additions to your budget. That represented other retirement benefits, people who, let you know that they were retiring, who didn't know, and couldn't know earlier. And natural gas and propane are 56,000 increase based on the current market price, and that's understandable. And then accounting, 5535 software management services for the business office, 5,900. So you had new needs of 111. But then, there's a whole list of things that in reviewing your budget and reviewing the grants that you got, where you could use those grants to take away items that were in the budget. So you reduced the budget by $1,545,000. So your new, as of April, your new need was $744,538, which represented a 1% increase over the previous year budget. So it's new money.
Mm-hmm.
And the mayor gave, in his budget, $135,000. Board of Aldermen ponied up $609,538. That added it up to $744,538. And that was the new money that was appropriated, and that's exactly what you said you needed, exactly what you got. You are fully funded. Does anybody disagree with that? I mean, the only people that will disagree with that are the naysayers on Facebook, who once again, don't have the facts and just can't get it straight. But the facts are the facts. And that's what I call openness. He didn't have to do this. You didn't have to do it. The finance committee didn't have to do it, but you did it so that we could see, and we're pleased to see this because it opens our eyes and says, look, this is what you guys go through every budget. Only this year you had that grant, American Relief money, you know, so you had that to lean on, and you pull from that where you could. Now, as the superintendent says, that's the good news. But the bad news is that when all this runs out in 2-3 years, and you got to refinance those technology things, the city's going to have to pony up. But that's okay. We all know that. We got plenty of warning. But that is a phenomenal document, and we never have received anything like that in the history of relations with the Board of Education. And that loses all kinds of confidence in your finance committee, superintendent, your finance director, and things you guys are doing. Now, the other thing that we received from him, which I think is something that's breaking new ground, is we've got a copy of your adopted 2021-22 budget. We got that in 2 formats. The first format is by school, and it's a 2-page document, which we've asked for repeatedly over the years, and I've never seen it. And then the second document gave us is your budget adopted by object summary, which to be honest with you, I've spent I don't know how many years just trying to figure out what object summary was, but now I got it. I mean, I got it in my own 2 hands. I mean, it's phenomenal. So I can't sit here and say enough about the openness and the positive influence that your actions had. I hope I'm talking about, I want you to know I'm talking about the superintendent on down, the finance committee, everybody. That's exactly what we want. It's exactly what we need. It's exactly what we have to do to be open. I mean, Ray and I have talked about this many times as city treasurer, and this is what we need. Ray is a former chairman of the Board of Education. And Ray says, this is what we got to get. But we've never been able to get it. So, you know, and I don't know, but it's all, forget the past. What we're interested in is how we're moving forward.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to capture this. I wanted to capture it on tape. I wanted to capture it for the record so that everybody knows that there's been a change, and it's a good change. And everybody's involved, from the mayor on down. So, thank you.
Thank you for the compliments and for acknowledging. I have to say, we're very proud of our hometown boy, man, who thinks outside the box. You know, he looks at a problem and he just doesn't say, oh, well, this is it, this is the problem. He looks, he maps out different strategies, he discusses it, includes everyone, very transparent, and I can tell you that every member of the board knows what's going on. This is a wonderfully positive thing. Our board meetings have gotten much better. We're working as a team. Actually, I hate to see elections come because it's been so, right? I mean, we're a team. And we've been working together, and with Ken, I mean, he not only does he contact you, John, I mean, he kind of calls me every day with an update, or sometimes not. And like, sometimes he doesn't call me for 3 days, and I call him and I say, you didn't call me, what's wrong? You know, so he keeps in contact, and he's not looking to leave anywhere. He wants to stay in Shelton and do his best.
Yeah, I think he's off to a good start. He's a long-term prospect.
I agree.
And just one other document that I didn't mention that he gave me. He gave me a copy of the, what's that, ARF, the American Relief document, American Relief. It's just a summary.
Oh, yeah.
You received $4,504,858, and of that, you committed $2 million.
Right.
And there's $2,464,000 still available to be used.
Right.
It has an end date, but it's available.
Right.
And so, who knows what comes down the road, right?
But he didn't spend it all.
Nope, he didn't spend it all.
Which is.
I think, you know.
And commendable, right?
Does anybody else have anything to say? I mean, I'm sorry to dominate this thing, but I wanted to project what you told me, and I hope I did it in a positive way.
If I may, Joanne. I was very pleased when Mr. Sarnich came aboard. I remember the first time I talked to the mayor about him meeting with the superintendent. It was very positive beginning. That was a good start, a very good start, excellent start. And then so far it's gone forward that way. And in our meetings, whether they be with the Board of A&T or just meeting with them, he's always brought a good positive vibe to everything, and I really appreciate that. But the proof is in the pudding right now that we're being able to fund you fully, which is what we want to do, and hopefully going forward, we'll work these things out also. I appreciate the Board of Education itself. The 5 members that are Republicans have always been positive, and when I met with them, with the mayor, on several occasions, whether it's about the budget or other aspects of the school system, it's always been very positive, and I do appreciate that. It's so much better to see that than what we'd seen before, the pulling party, each other person, and what they were doing. So thank you again. Let's keep going forward that way. Thank you.
Can I just say one thing? I also have to say that in communicating, the Board of Aldermen, in communicating with our superintendent, you established a sense of trust because you said, look, we're going to, you know, we're gonna work with you, and we're gonna support you. And Ken,
I did say that, didn't I?
you did say that, and you said, look, you're transparent, you're giving us, you're showing us what you can do and what you're willing to do, and we will support you. And if, I mean, we don't know what our numbers are gonna be like in September, we don't know if we're gonna have to add a grade or two, but you said if we need something, you know, come, you'll discuss it, if we can be rationalize it, and, you know, but Ken feels strongly that that he has a bond with you now, and I think we all feel that way, and I think that's like so important, especially today.
Well, I'll tell you, the thing of all that we said tonight, the thing that was new to me, and I'm glad to hear because I just read some negative comment to this effect in the newspaper. Somebody was commenting about the insurance fund we had. You remember that, Al? What was it called? Do you remember, Paul?
Medical reserve?
Medical reserve. I'm glad to hear that they're gonna put that 200, whatever's left, you know, in there. That's good.
Well, that's to cover any of our needs
Yeah.
medically,
Yeah, well,
and
that's
and that was, I believe that was worked out between Jimmy Orzetti, the mayor, and our superintendent. And
Yeah, Jimmy Orzetti did a great job of communicating.
he did,
Liaison with the mayor.
he did,
Excellent.
yes, and he has, you know, I told you, this is such a strong team
Good,
that
good.
I
Well, proof is in the pudding. You have given us documents that we heretofore are looking for, and I'll tell you, it's an eye-opener, it's wonderful, it's just great, and it's love affair.
I'll be happy to report that tomorrow in my board commentary, that we now have an established love affair with the Board of Health.
Please communicate that to the rest of the members of the board.
I will.
That what we talked about tonight, what we did, and that we're thankful for all of the, you know, relationship that exists. I mean, it's just, you know,
And we do look forward to, in the future, we have had a few sessions with the board of, just like workshop sessions, in the past, and we would look forward to continuing with those in the future.
Madam Chairman, if I may make another comment. This is off the subject of finances, but throughout this year, which has been probably the toughest year any school system go through, I had a lot of positive comments from people I know that are in the school system, that you're doing things you could to get through it as best you can. And I think that, all of you, a great deal of, thanks for that. Everyone from the, people up in the central office, all the way down to the people in the schools who did things to, went above and beyond, make sure students were safe, staff was safe, buildings were kept clean. And that meant, you know, at times you had to stop people from coming into the buildings that maybe want to get in. Thank you very much for all of you, keeping our children and our staff safe.
That's our priority.
Thank you.
any other comments? Oh, Rick, to say something.
Carl, did you want to say anything?
No, well, I could just thank John and everyone, and I'm really pleased to hear that, that our superintendent has reestablished that relationship that I thought was vital and that was really lacking in previous years. I just think, that was one of our most important goals for our board.
We made a good choice. So,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
There's no more items, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Motion made by Simonetti, second by English. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
7:05. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Good, Al. Good to see you, Ray.
I can't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Have you been out
I
hand?
dropped, I dropped a big metal bar in my hand,
Oh.
and, it's sore, but I still wanna shake your hand.
Are you retired? What are you doing? Doing consulting or?
I need things to buy a piece of equipment. I do a little consulting
Thank
with the
you.
and the bill